So, guys, where do we start? You could start it saying that the Hawks have lost 5 straight. You could start it saying the Hawks lost 7 of their last 10. You could start as saying the Hawks have lost 7 out of 8. But no matter where you start, Jarvis, the end result is the same. They sit at the 11th spot in the Eastern Conference. They sit at 9-14 on the season, and they sit at a place where all three people on this particular podcast are scratching their heads each and every day. And honestly, I told someone this morning, guys, that you could almost hit rewind, like literally on Quin Snyder's post-game presser. And that's not an indictment of Quin Snyder. It's just saying we're seeing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. So what I wanted to do, even kind of tee it up, and this is just like a quick yes, no for you guys. For me, it's very, very frustrating, but I still am okay because at least they're competitive. If I kind of do a comparison contrast of what I used to see last year, where you talk about losing a locker room like Dan Quinn did. Well, we also know Nate McMillan lost that locker room. It showed on the court, no matter the fact that they got to the play-in round. This year, I feel like, A, they're competitive, and B, it might still actually be a good idea that this is happening at this point in the season. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Jarvis, still in all, 9-14 is 9-14. How in the Sam hell did we get here?
I think there's a lack of depth on this roster because when you think about Jalen Johnson going down and this team just looking awful defensively, like we saw it last year, right? We saw like bigs, like dominant bigs, like specifically Pascal Siakam, like gives the Hawks blues every time they play.
Yeah.
So physical teams, like we've seen that, but it just seemed like it's hitting a little different this year. It's a little bit more bloviated, so to speak. So I think that for a guy like Jalen Johnson to go down and this team start to look like this, and then obviously with DeAndre Hunter being out, wow, Wesley Matthews was in the starting lineup. 45-year-old Wesley Matthews was in the starting lineup, T. That's what we're talking about here. So it's just like, oh my God, like this roster, the way it was constructed for the 2023-24 season is not good. It's not good. And I think that it has to fall at the feet of Landry Fields. And I think that you made a great point as far as with, it looking kind of different because we're talking about the locker room situation. Quin Snyder has everybody bought in. That's from what I've seen. Like he has the star of this team in Trae Young. He has him sold. But I just feel like you got to give Quin Snyder something to work with because this is like Jalen Johnson wasn't even projected to be a starter coming in this season. They were rotating, he and Sadiq Bey. So we lose a guy that's potentially a guy coming off the bench, edge on the edge of being a starter. We lose that guy. This is what we get. Five straight, 7 out of the last 8. Yeah, so this one falls at the feet of Landry Fields and Kyle Korver. So yeah, this is where I'm at with right now, T.
Yeah, and kind of to echo what you're saying, Jarvis, we've been frustrated for a while, right? And when Quin Snyder became the head coach, we all thought that there would be just this, I don't know, I don't want to say immediate change, but kind of. We felt like it was a really good sense of energy. He was going to change some things, certainly defensively. Quin Snyder doesn't need to prove himself to us. He doesn't need to prove himself to anybody. He's done that already. He did that in Utah, okay? And especially when you're talking about defensively, he came in and you're thinking, okay, he can open up something that we haven't seen with Trae Young. He's done that a little bit, but Trae's defense still isn't mind-blowing. I don't know that it ever will be, right? And this team has gotten a little bit better defensively. They're doing a lot of things differently than they have in the past defensively. So you think about a growing pain there, but still, like Jarvis said, the depth on this roster, it is not good. It's not even just okay. It's just bad. And they have to fix that. And I was looking at all of the different transactions and moves that have happened since the Eastern Conference Finals run back in 2021. And that starts with multiple changes at the head coaching position and everything else. There's been nothing that's been impressive aside, obviously, from everyone knows what happened. One of the biggest and best backcourts that we thought we were going to get, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, but still their connection is kind of wonky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think Jalen Johnson was just a surprise. Nobody thought he was going to be the second best player on the team this year. And obviously he hasn't played and you're missing him significantly. I wrote down this stat that Hawks opponents are shooting 7.5% worse at the rim when JJ is on the floor. That's crazy. They're missing a huge piece of the puzzle defensively, but it can't just be one guy. And the depth is really the problem. I mean, I can't even see another way. It's just incredibly frustrating. They gotta fix it.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of makes me excited because I'm like, sometimes you got to get exposed about how bad you are so you can get good. And I think the Hawks have been okay with like, yeah, we got a squad, we got enough to, make some noise in the Eastern Conference. No, you don't, because like you said, Trae Young is actually, his numbers are going up because you never saw him have anything more than like a 0.2% of blocks every season. Now he's kind of hovering over the 1, which is hey, for him that's good. 4 to 6 rebounds hey, you take it, because at least you know that he's trying, he's buying in, and he's making things happen, and his steals are actually leading to transition buckets and fast break points, which back in the day, a steal would just be, well, a steal. So, and I'm kind of going up this chart for a reason. Now, Maria, you were very nice about it. I'm just going to be a little bit less nice. Go DJ. That was my DJ. That ain't my DJ right now because I'm just not getting it. Like last night, Maria was a prime example. How do we get a stat line like we got last night where Trae had 35, DJ had 20. Trae had 17 assists, DJ had 11. Trae had 1 block, DJ had 2. Trae had 4 rebounds, DJ had 6. You lost the game. You lost the game. How do we finally get what we want out of the backcourt and you still lose the game? Well, Maria, you answer the question. You lose the game because of Jalen Johnson not being there. You lose the game because points in the paint and transition buckets are not in your favor, and you have nobody. I repeat, nobody. I said it again, nobody to guard on the perimeter. 11 of 19 shots were made by the Raptors in the Wednesday game because, of course, we know they got a tilt again on Friday. But of those 11, Jarvis, 8 of the made shots were threes. And that has been the thorn in the Hawks side again and again and again. So that's what Jalen Johnson also gave you on that perimeter defense that said, hey, at least I'm going to get a body on you and at least I'm going to get a hand in front of you before you shoot this shot. Let's just go to the 3. Never have we gotten a consistent output from DeAndre Hunter. So him being out the last couple of games, to me, I mean, that's like a pebble in the ocean type situation because he did do some things well before he was out. But the boulder in the ocean is Jalen Johnson because it tells you, hey, when you don't have him in the starting lineup, then that means you've got to pull Sadiq in, which means that takes productivity from your bench unit, right? Or you've got to pull in the Matthews boys, and I don't even want to go there with that. But that puts shines a light on the fact that you don't have that depth. You've got Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's given you a really good season so far, but he's older, and you know what's going to happen around late December, early January. That body's going to start getting shaky. So I think, and this is why I think this is a good thing for us, guys, because at the end of the day, this might be a blip on the screen in the long season. Maybe it is. But if you go year over year, 9-14, and you lost to the Raptors, 13-10, and you beat the Nuggets last year, who eventually became the world champion. That means something ain't right. And maybe that puts some heat on Landry Fields and Kyle Korver to say, we're going to have to fix this, and we're going to have to fix this fast.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing, that the sense of urgency, I feel like that's where you are with it, and that's where I am with it too, T, because like the major move that you made was a salary dump. And that is very clear what it was. Everybody who, even if you're a casual fan of the Atlanta Hawks, you understand why they traded away John Collins, and for them to be in this space, well, like I said, 9-14, you lost 5 straight. And there has to be a sense of urgency because Quin Snyder got the benefit of the doubt from the owner, from everybody who's been looking at games. And, we've been saying it on this podcast as well. Like we see the difference. We see the difference, but like the results, are pretty much the same. So like it has to be somebody's fault. So I think this finger is starting to point upward into to the brass that guys make the decision who put these guys in place on this roster. So I think that, stinking it up right now with one major injury for real is probably the best thing that could have happened, because Landry Fields better start picking up that phone because, there have been some reports that they have started re-engaged the Toronto Raptors about Pascal Siakam. So hopefully they can make that move because Lord knows they need it.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were trying to manifest that earlier, Jarvis, when you had drop Siakam's name earlier. I didn't mention it. Now
yes.
you
Of course, yes. I'm a manifest type dude. I speak it into existence, Maria. That's where I'm at with it. Like that's how I live my life. I put it out there in the atmosphere and it happens. So
I like that.
If you can buy John Collins' condo, hey, come on down here, Pascal, man. Atlanta's good for you, man.
I saw you quote tweet that. Maybe Siakam will see it. Hey, it's a little $2 million buckhead condo. Here you go.
What's $2 million?
Exactly. Because let me tell you, if you think it's expensive to live in Atlanta, try Toronto. Toronto is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. Albeit it's a beautiful city. But yeah, you guys are absolutely right. I thought about this and I said, yeah, this is good. They're going up to Toronto. They get to see Siakam smoke him one more time before Jalen Johnson comes back. Because yeah, I mean, literally 33 points, 12 of 19 shooting, and a power forward, 3 of 6 from 3, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. That's the stat line that you want. That, first of all, John Collins could never have given you. But for what he brings to the table, you can go ahead and start getting your package together, because he absolutely put something on display last night to show you, oh, just a reminder, in case you're still wondering who I am still him.
And we haven't seen the Hawks make a move like this in a really long time. And we've talked about it before in the past. We've been waiting for them to make a move that is significant and that will actually change the roster. And no, we're not talking about dumping John Collins' contract, which needed to happen regardless. You need a body in there to make a difference on the court, and we haven't seen that. And so that's what's so frustrating. And yeah, I was a little bit nice about it earlier, but I definitely do still think that there has to be change, and it has to happen now, because from the outside looking in, I mean, the Hawks, they are not good right now, and they are in dangerous territory of potentially missing the playoffs. This is a team that had such high expectations. Something has to change, and it's not just the head coach anymore, and that's very obvious.
Yeah, because at some point it becomes a hole that you can't dig yourself out of, because when you start to lose these head-to-head matchups in the Eastern Conference, and you get to your point, Maria, where there's a situation that comes about where you literally have to go to head-to-head competition when the records are the same. If the Hawks keep losing these types of games, they're going to come out not so good on the other side. Now, speaking of the other side, we're going to go around the Metro and see if there should be some movement or if there should not be some movement, and who and how is going to impact one of our teams. We'll talk about it on the other side.